Hey, Brendan, a lot to unpack here, so let's kind of start with what we think actually did happen. Tornado, not really in the mix, but we think it was what we call a downburst. What does that basically mean? Keep in mind now, these thunderstorms grow vertically into the atmosphere. They're held up by what we call strong updrafts. So when you start to see those clouds build, that was that updraft pushing that cloud up. It was also taking water droplets from the bottom of the cloud to the top of the cloud where the temperature is below freezing, and then a downdraft brought it back down, more water, and then eventually that ice crystal got a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and that was the hail. So here's what we think happened. So we had a strong updraft pushing that cloud up. Then what happened was once you had the hail and the rain, we started to see that colder air, which is heavier, start to sink, and that caused a downdraft. So what happened then is a very, very major blast of air, wind spreads out towards the ground, and you can see spreading in all the directions. And the bottom line is when you get a downburst, it certainly gives the indication it could have been a tornado because of the damage. But what you look at is which way do the trees fall? Do they fall in the same direction or do they fall more in a rotation? So what we think happened was a downburst that certainly had damage that was indicative of, let's say, a tornado. Now, a lot of times you also hear the term microburst. Microburst is kind of a downburst, but just smaller. Generally, if it's a 2.5 miles or maybe less than that, that's what we call a microburst as opposed to a macroburst or a downburst. So we think that's exactly what happened earlier tonight. Now what's happening right now, we've got scattered showers and thunderstorms that continue to move on through, but fortunately these are nothing like what we saw earlier tonight. But there are some heavier rain showers moving right over 526 over towards Daniel Island up into the forest. We've got heavy rain heading up towards Allendale. We've got heavy rain, but these are moving pretty quickly from the southwest to the northeast. Now I want to show you the hail swath from Storm Team 2 Live Viper. You can see how it moved right across portions of Colleton County, then Dorchester County, really right over Interstate 26. So you look at the clock, you look at the time when we saw that hail moving through, and as Brendan mentioned, yes, we had golf ball size hail. In some reports, maybe in tennis ball that is size hail, but this is a close-up of that same swath, exactly where it moved through. So Somerville, Ladson getting a lot of reports of some large hail for you, and that's exactly where it came from. In the same mix, we also have what we call a rotation or shear indicator, and this is where the strongest winds were located as those storms moved on through. So it's no surprise when you hear where the damage was and see where the damage was. Based on our radar system, it's right on track with exactly where some of the highest winds were, where some of the largest hail was, and obviously now the damage, it looked like a tornado, but what we really feel pretty confident it was a downburst, Brendan. So things are going to quiet down for the rest of the night, but this is something that we don't see very often, and a lot of the reports you're giving me is, Rob, it looked like a hurricane came through my backyard, and those videos and pictures certainly back that up, Brendan.